Doctor, I need assistance. Doctor, we have a patient in serious trouble.
I'm doing my best in here. We're overwhelmed, can't you see? There's not enough staff rostered. What are we supposed to do?
Good evening. Our top story tonight, hospitals across the country are facing unprecedented levels of stress. Emergency rooms are overwhelmed with too many patients and not enough staff to care for them. Here to provide more insight is Dr. Lee, the President of the Australian Medical Association and a recurring healthcare expert. Dr. Lee, what can you tell us about this crisis?
Thank you, James. The situation is indeed critical. Exploratory data analysis found that wait times in emergency departments across the entire Australia have increased from 2011 to 2022. Here, we can observe a dramatic increase of 53% since 2015 to a median wait time of 213 minutes, or approximately 3.5 hours, in 2022. Additionally, it is clear that the number of presentations has dramatically increased since 2011, with a peak in 2020 to 2023. This reflects similar trends to the waiting time in the ED versus year figure, in which both have increased significantly and have highest values during and post the COVID-19 pandemic.
That is indeed alarming. We did hear these concerns throughout the COVID pandemic. What are the main factors contributing to this surge?
The data confirms the changes in hospital system nationally due to the COVID-19 pandemic, signified by the increased number of presentations. However, the data does not reflect the fact that this may be due to societal impacts, in which the general public now visit the hospitals for minor illnesses, where before they may choose to go to their local doctor or pharmacist.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lee.
We now have the lead developer of algorithm ACES, Hans. What have algorithm ACES have been doing to address the situation, and what can all Australians do to help out the frontline workers?
We at Algorithm ACES have begun to design and develop a machine learning algorithm called Visionary AI. It's based on the data that Dr. Lee spoke about that will be able to provide the government with recommendations for allocation of funding to states and hospitals nationally in an attempt to address this very serious issue. We are a small company, but using publicly available government data from the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare, our hope is that the government uses these recommendations by Visionary AI to address the overwhelmed hospitals, extreme wait times, and to improve equitable access to healthcare as Australians should have. Instead of going to the emergency department where you have to wait 3.5 hours, I implore all Australians to go to your local doctors and pharmacists for your day-to-day illnesses and issues. This is not to discourage you from coming to the hospital, but please only come if absolutely necessary.
Thank you, Hans, and to you, Dr. Lee. It's clear that addressing this issue is vital for the health and safety of our communities. We'll continue to follow this story closely. Up next, we'll have special guest Dr. Hamish Fernando giving us the latest news on all things salsa.
Finally, they're talking about it.
Yeah, no, finally. We need more doctors, now!
Are you kidding me? I just worked 2 16-hour shifts back to back and haven't had a break since Monday.
We're doing our best here.
We have no choice. The patients, they just keep coming.
This cannot happen again. I've already given you a warning, doctor. Everyone is tired and stressed out. Nurses, doctors, even our patients, spending hours in the waiting room.
I know, and I'm sorry. But you have to understand the situation we're in down the ER. We're overwhelmed, it's only getting worse.
Look, I understand. But taking it out on your colleagues is not the solution. It only makes things worse for everyone.
We're all at our breaking point here. Every single day, we're dealing with more patients than we have the capacity for. We're short-staffed, overworked, and it's affecting our ability to provide care. Look, I lost my temper, and I'm sorry, but something here has to change. Have you watched the news recently, sir? Well, they've been talking about this, how hospitals are all overwhelmed across the country, across the state. So I did a bit of my own sort of research in the background, a bit of exploratory data analysis using government data on the emergency departments across all of Australia. And so if you look here, initially there's a comparison of the proportion of regional metropolitan hospitals in each state. And this was used to obtain information without impacting by the number of hospitals, considering more populous states like New South Wales and Victoria having a greater number of hospitals themselves. And so from this graph, it's clear that ACT has all metropolitan hospitals, which may be due to the Capital Territory having very little regional space. But in contrast, the Northern Territory and Tasmania have entirely regional hospitals. And these other states have relatively equal proportions of metropolitan to regional hospitals, likely due to the large size of these states. And so we can see some interesting insights into the proportion of these metropolitan and regional hospitals in each state. And this could be of interest to providing recommendations to further support ourselves, as our funding comes from government. But further, look, the proportion distribution of triage categories for each state shows a fairly equal distribution, reflecting the actual equal proportion for each of the triage categories for most states except the one we're in, New South Wales and Victoria. See, as the two most populous states in Australia, this could be a potential correlation maybe, but no further evidence I found really supports this. And so based on this information, New South Wales and Victoria require less resource allocation towards resuscitation equipment, for example.
Okay, wait. I think I'm sort of understanding. Just give me a second.
No, finally, look at this one. This graph here represents the number of presentations by triage category for each year from 2011 to 2023. And so across the board, the number of presentations peaks between 2020 and 2023. This, however, could have been due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the resultant impacts, or simply just the higher population in the last couple of years. However, it's much more likely that this is due to the pandemic, due to the spikes from 2022 to 2023. Here, the number of resuscitations have remained constant throughout, but additionally, the number of semi-urgent and non-urgent presentations peaked in 2020 before gradually declining following this. Maybe this was due to more people worrying about COVID itself and coming to the hospital, with relatively minor symptoms, small cough, light sniffle, but these might have been just diagnosed as a common cold rather than the more serious symptoms of COVID itself. But on the other hand, the number of presentations for emergency and urgent care have increased steadily since 2011, you can see here. And this is interesting, since this actually may reflect the impacts of COVID in the last few years, but may also, as I said before, be simply due to the rise in population. And so, hopefully overall here, you can see there's a clear impact of COVID-19 on the hospital system since 2020. But the lasting impacts are questionable here. I have to do some more research. But this is especially true since there's no increase in the number of non- or semi-urgent presentations.
Okay. I think I understand. Can you just put that in email to me?
Sure thing, I'll send it to you later.
Good afternoon, guys. Thank you for meeting with us today. We're excited to introduce Visionary AI, our AI machine learning system designed to revolutionize data analysis and decision-making in government operations.
Thank you for being here, guys. We're really glad that you're here and really interested to hear how your system could benefit us. Please, go ahead.
Well, here is a detailed report of our AI system. There you will find our research and methodologies. Our talk today will discuss a summary of our findings.
We initially started off by analysing data provided by the Australian Institute of Health and Welfare about emergency departments throughout Australia. Our data cleaning process involved extracting the sheets provided into individual files, which were more easily cleaned by cutting rows with missing data or incomplete data entries were imputed, such as the few values labelled less than 5 for the number of presentations, which we allocated a random integer from 1 to 4. After having cleaned the data, we recombined the files together to form our final dataset to be used in our EDA as well as feature engineering for our AI.
In receiving our clean data, our next steps were to create a feature set for our models to learn on. Key to each of the features fed into our models were that they were independent of each other, they appeared normal in distribution, and they appeared to have some sort of relationship to what we plan to model, that being the wait times and the number of presentations within the emergency departments of each hospital. To ensure that there was a relationship between our features and the target, we performed functional transforms such as taking logs, square roots, rolling averages, as well as lagging variables. To ensure normality between the functions, the application of power transforms were taken, specifically a Yeo-Johnson transformation due to the non-negative nature of our data. These three main points are key to maximize the predictiveness of our models, particularly as independence and normality are key assumptions in the majority of machine learning models.
Our model leverages Google's TensorFlow neural network software to perform a nonlinear regression algorithm that lets us predict median wait times in New South Wales emergency departments. After having performed the appropriate transforms stated earlier, the training data was fed into our machine learning model, where the neural network architecture starts with 512 neurons and reduces down by a factor of 2 in order to smoothly approach a solution. This is done for a maximum of 100 iterations, where we have implemented a system to stop learning early if it detects overfitting. This has resulted in the prediction of emergency department wait times in New South Wales as seen here, where it has a mean average error of 68 minutes and a mean square error of 7,490 minutes. Although off by over an hour, we have deemed this more satisfactory than previous more accurate iterations to avoid overfitting. With this, we propose its use in helping to allocate funding and resources to hospitals and other medical facilities in New South Wales and in the future all of Australia.
But what about data security and privacy? How can you guys be sure that sensitive information of our clients is protected?
Well, data security is a top priority for us. Our system uses state-of-the-art encryption and anonymization techniques outsourced from industry-leading data security firms to protect the sensitive information of our patients. Additionally, we comply with all relevant data protection regulations to ensure privacy is maintained. While we are using hospital data, the data is primarily financial and categorized, and therefore, in a time when data breaches have become increasingly common, the risk of private and confidential information being released is minimal.
This could be a game changer. What kind of support or collaboration do you need from the government to implement this system?
Well, at the moment, we lack crowdfunding and investment, so partnering with the government would help to bring this to reality. We would need access to relevant datasets to specify the system to each state and territory, and support in integrating our system with existing infrastructure to ensure interoperability and a smooth transition. Additionally, a pilot program would be beneficial to demonstrate the system's capabilities on a smaller scale before a full rollout. We wish to begin this staged implementation in New South Wales, lasting between 6 to 12 months, giving the opportunity to monitor closely and adjust the system as needed before expanding to other states.
We can also ensure the system is finely tuned and that any issues are addressed early on. This approach will allow us to gather valuable feedback and make data-driven improvements, ensuring a smoother transition when scaling up to larger populations, and eventually to the entirety of Australia.
Okay, can you elaborate on potential benefits of implementing the system, both in short term and long term?
Well, in the short term, this system will give a major boost in making smarter, data-driven decisions. This means that we can allocate resources more efficiently and respond quicker to situations on the ground. You'll see instant improvements in how we handle public health, emergency services, and other critical operations.
But the real game changer is the long-term impact. With its predictive power, we can mitigate issues, potentially saving lives and money. Additionally, with increased efficiency and accuracy, our teams can focus on higher level and value-added tasks, ultimately leading to a more effective and responsive healthcare system backed by the government.
Well, thank you guys for both coming in. We do need some time to walk through your reports, but we'll be in contact soon. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over 2 years ago, we spoke frequently about the crisis in hospital system. Tonight, I'm glad to welcome back Hans, the lead developer of Visionary AI, to speak about the recent successes.
Thank you, James. I'm glad to report the emergency department wait times in New South Wales have been cut by over half to 1.5 hours. We are extremely glad of the support from our stakeholders, the government, patients, medical professionals, and the hospitals. Our future plan is to implement Visionary AI into hospitals in other states, which is possible due to government backing. While Visionary AI is useful in providing recommendations, we still have a long way to go in reducing emergency department wait times.
Thank you, Hans. We appreciate you coming on today and look forward to speaking with you again in a short time to see the incredible progress. Well, that's it for our broadcast tonight. Good night.